It is actually the beautiful kids who are cursed.
I have a question for you guys. Do looks matter? Because South Park thinks no. The show actually considers beauty to be something like a curse. I know, shocking, controversial topic. But before you get ahead of yourself and write a 10,000 word thesis on pretty privileges in the comments section, please just give this argument a chance. South Park's take on the subject is surprisingly nuanced and, dare I say, genius. South Park explores what I'm going to call lookism in season 11, episode The List. Now, the list starts with the boys discussing how the girls have made a list ranking all the boys from cutest to ugliest. Naturally, they're all worried about their position on the list. I would be too, I mean, who wouldn't? But this is everyone except for Kyle.
Who cares if the girls make some stupid list?
Does Kyle really not care, or is this just typical male bravado? I guess we'll see soon. Kyle is used as a stand-in for, let's say, 99% of the men. You know, just people like you and me. Just like Kyle, you're probably not devastatingly handsome, unlike me. But you're also not horrifyingly ugly, so it's all good. You probably don't care too much about your looks.
I don't give a
You just follow the unwritten rule for all men. Take care of your physical appearance, but never look like you're trying too hard. That's super girly. And gay. Now, Kyle keeps this sort of act up until his friends manage to steal the list from the girls. And then he sees his name ranked dead last. The ugliest boy in the entire class.
Me?
And suddenly Kyle cares. In fact, he cares a lot. He's actually broken because of it. He just can't believe it. After everyone goes home, Kyle is still in the room, staring at the list, refusing to believe that anybody would think he is the ugliest of the ugly.
Who cares what dumb girls think, right?
So Kyle does the first thing that he should naturally do, and that's ask his family. And you know, asking your family anything, he's gonna get the usual answers. You're adorable, you're perfect, you look just like your father, etc., etc. So you just know that he puts the in ugly. Now this is the perfect representation of it in real life. Your parents will always be irrationally biased towards you. They're genes after all. Your family also doesn't care about your looks too much because they see all your good qualities. You know, something like, Moving on, our stand-in Kyle sees through all of his family's politeness. He just realizes he's not as handsome as mommy says. His friends are constantly teasing him about being uggo.
Hey, ugly!
Because of this, Kyle has a tremendous amount of emotional anguish. But before we get into what Kyle does as a result of all of this, let's take a look at the other side of the coin. Unlike Kyle, who's wallowing in misery, the beautiful ones are living on cloud 9, as if they're on an entirely different planet. Kyle's friend, Butters, is absolutely giddy after being ranked number 11. He gets a t-shirt with the number 11 on it, he skips around, happier than an anime fan in Japan. I know, that's a tough one to beat, but just bear with me here. And number 1 on the list is Clyde, who's even happier. He strips to his underwear, finds a mirror, and he just stands there, admiring himself. The absolute Adonis of a boy, talking to himself, looking at all the things that the girl find hot.
What's going on? Hey.
Is he probably gonna be disappointed later? Absolutely.
Hey.
But before we get into that, I am just absolutely stunned at just how accurate it is. Clyde's reaction sort of reminds me of the summer I turned 15. You know, this is the one and only time that I got a compliment from a girl about my looks, still to this day. This girl in school told me that I had the most symmetrical hairline she's ever seen, and I gotta say, I probably blushed for like 6 months straight. No joke. That's when I became addicted to looking at myself in the mirror, taking the time analyzing my hairline every moment that I could, as long as nobody else was watching. And for obvious reasons, I had my barber empathize my hairline every time I got a haircut. But this didn't last too long. A couple days before my 19th birthday, I was getting a haircut when I noticed that my hairline wasn't as symmetrical as it once was before. The balding genes turned up to the party. Absolutely worst birthday ever. Now I'm a very, very low-key member of the comb-over gang. Are the beautiful ones as doomed as I am? Yes, absolutely. They may not start balding at 19, but South Park also believes they're all doomed. Just like it would with anyone, Kyle's bullying drives him up a wall. His friends start to exclude him, and now he has to sit with all of the other ugly kids. Now, this also reflects how it is in society. A man's value is determined by whether or not he can get laid. Even in the movies, the hero only saves the world so he can get the girl. Men who can't get girls are considered the lowest forms of life. We call them losers, incels, virgins, manlets, doomers, etc. There's a whole entire list. But when Yamal says,
Sometimes I just want to burn it down. Burn the whole school down to the ground.
he speaks for this unforgotten group of bitter, angry men on the fringes of society that we treat like dog poop on the bottom of a shoe. They want to burn down the world. You ever hear that saying, some people just want to watch the world burn? These people are not trying to change the world for stuff like you and me, no. They're just trying to destroy it. They want everyone who's ever hurt them to suffer, to feel the pain that they have felt. When you look at it through the lens of revenge, a lot of the insanity in our modern society starts to make sense. And South Park pointed it out in some seemingly inane episode about a middle school popularity contest, going back to the list with Kyle at the absolute bottom of it. I've criticized them before, but I gotta give it to Matt and Trey, props for this. Going back to the episode, Kyle is still in denial. He thinks he can fix the ugly kids with a makeover.
Maybe we all just need a little image change, like a makeover.
But he realizes that some of them are just unfixable.
Like you. Maybe you just need to let your hair down, and let's see how you look without those glasses.
When Kyle sees this, he realizes that the situation he's in is hopeless. He probably thinks that's how the girls see him, and I gotta say, it's absolutely brutal. The natural result is Kyle taking the burn it to the ground speech and just running with it. This is a perfect analogy for how bitter and angry people isolate themselves into an online echo chamber filled with utter bitter and angry people who just make each other angrier. This is exactly how you end up with a kid like Kyle. He started out sad because the girls thought he was ugly, and when he sees how ugly the other kids are, he starts thinking that that's how the world sees him. That's how he gets angry enough to do something like burning down the school. It kind of resonates with me because I've seen a friend go through the same transformation. You've probably seen your friends go through some sort of extremist transformation like this. My friend, he had one bad breakup, went down the usual post-breakup rabbit hole, and the next thing I know, he believes that all women are evil and wants to convert everybody to Islam. It's the same process man-hating feminists go through. They have one bad experience with Josh, go hang out with other women who have a similar bad experience, and boom, all of a sudden all men are trash. Fuck you, Josh. If all you hear is man bad or women bad, you are absolutely in an echo chamber. And over time, you will end up believing what you see and hear every day. Perception is reality. When bitter and angry people hang out together, the anger and the bitterness just reinforces itself until it creates Taylor Swift's entire fan base. Moving back to the episode, sorry for the tangent there, but after enough time with the ugly kids, Kyle starts to reach his peak angriness.
They all laugh at me. And the girls giggle behind my back, unable to even glance at my disfigured face.
Kyle is so determined to burn down the school, but somebody intervenes. Well, actually, it's two somebodies. But are they gonna succeed? Are they gonna be able to stop Kyle? The first person to intervene is Abraham Lincoln's ghost. The most logical person to come talk to Kyle. He takes Kyle on a walkabout. He shows Kyle a woman who got everything handed to her entire life because she was hot. Till she turned 40 and all of a sudden all that hotness disappeared. If you've seen any of those articles where women complain about how they become invisible after 40, this is exactly what South Park is referring to. Lincoln then shows Kyle his new ugly friend, Yamal. Yamal has to work so hard to make something of himself because he's just so ugly. There will never be anything ever handed to him. Finally, Lincoln takes Kyle to the number one man on the list's house, Clyde. Now Clyde, as you remember, is rated to be the cutest boy in the 4th grade class at South Park Elementary. Clyde's life is now all about girls. He's lying on the couch talking about buying a girl shoes. Keep those shoes in mind, because later on, it's going to be very, very important. Lincoln's entire argument, what he's trying to tell Kyle is that beauty is a curse.
So you see, Kyle, it is actually the beautiful kids who are cursed.
Lincoln is trying to show Kyle that being ugly allows you to build character, because you have to work for something every single day in life. The beautiful never get to build character or learn virtues like hard work because they're always going to have something handed to them. Someone is always going to be rewarding them based on their looks. But once their beauty fades and they're all alone, they're going to be screwed. As a famously ugly person himself, Lincoln knows exactly what he's talking about. But does this argument work on Kyle? We've talked about how much sense Lincoln's argument is and how well it's put together and how everything makes sense in our society. But Kyle, he absolutely does not follow what's being put down. I mean, he is 10 years old.
But I can't wait to be an adult to be happy. That's forever from now.
Now, we just heard that Kyle dismisses Lincoln's argument, but is Lincoln right? When looking at successful people, I notice that pretty people are mostly confined to Hollywood. The medium ugly gang pretty much dominates everywhere else. For illustration purposes, I'm going to be giving you 3 names that you're already familiar with. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg. All of these guys are 5'7". That's right, they would get banned on day 1 if they ever dared to download Tinder. Next, let's look at their faces. Bill Gates and Zuck are not winning any beauty contests. Before he drank Compound 5 and got jacked, Bezos used to look like a middle-aged accountant who's just trying to go and buy a PS5 for his wife's boyfriend. Even Elon Musk, who is okay-ish looking by like billionaire standards, only got rich so he could buy himself hair. Okay, back to the episode. Back to Kyle. So, he's rejected Lincoln's advice. Is it over? I mean, yeah, pretty much. Except for the fact that we did mention 2 somebodies, and we haven't talked about the other one yet. So, the other person who's been working behind the scenes is one true friend, Stan. Stan doesn't believe that Kyle's ugly, no. He begins digging with the help of Wendy, his girlfriend, and soon enough he uncovers the truth. The list was rigged. Shocking, I know. Now, what does this mean? This means that Kyle isn't the ugliest kid in class, and that also means Clyde isn't the cutest. A few of the girls in the subcommittee rigged the vote. Remember when I told you that those shoes would be important? This is it. The girls want to date Clyde because his dad owns the shoe store at the mall. But they couldn't because he wasn't cool or popular enough, he's just some nobody background character. But once they rigged the votes to make Clyde the cutest, they could then date him. In the monkey business that ensued, to cover up the rigging, Kyle ended up stuck at the bottom. Someone had to be there, it just happened to be Kyle. So this brings me to my most important point in the video. Should you open a shoe store to get girls? And the answer here is absolutely. Will you actually make a profit? You can go out and try this. Let us know down below in the comments. Now, jokes aside, that's not really the point I'm trying to make here. This is obviously a dig at the gold diggers. Get rich enough and certain women will love you for your personality. Will it be true love? I don't know. Do you care? I mean, one guy gets love for his looks, you get love for your wallet. It doesn't seem too different to me. Now, Stan and Wendy have the real list. The list shows the actual ranking, but Kyle refused to look at it and burns it instead. He's finally accepted Lincoln's lesson.
I don't want to find out I'm good looking and become a total shithead when I grow up.
Contrary to Kyle's wishes, some of the fans used a little snippet to reconstruct the actual list anyways.
To move Clyde meant Craig had to be moved to number 12, which moved Jimmy down and moved Jason up.
When you apply that information to the rigged list, you end up with Kyle either being number 1 or number 5 on the cute list. But he's never gonna know either way. Like I said, he burned it. So there it is. We come to find out beauty might hold you back, while ugliness just gives you an opportunity to develop a work ethic. Now, does this mean beauty is actually a curse? Absolutely not. However, pretty privilege is real and it's not going anywhere. It's the most powerful superpower around today. As long as you're smart enough to learn other skills before your looks fade, you're absolutely set for life. And because getting people to help you is so much easier when you're pretty, you have no excuse. A lot of pretty people are very open about the number of doors their beauty has opened for them. But it just really stings, because after all this time, I've just been opening the doors with my hands.